I've got to figure it out, man. I've got to figure out how to be a time wizard. Holy smokes. What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're having a wonderful time. My name is Ethan. I go by Lord Ethan, and I am an Overwatch collegiate varsity coach of coming up on 6 years. Today, we have the pleasure of taking a look at this is some 6v6 DPS gameplay. And I know, you're thinking, 6v6? That's some fake Overwatch. But no. We can't be so presumptuous. At the end of the day, it's all Overwatch, all plays by very similar rules, and really at the end of the day as well, it doesn't matter what the format is. I'm gonna end up saying the exact same things like I do every video. Oh, say it with me, guys. Oh, always better start on high ground. Oh, if you have it, use it. Damage taken timings, guys. Yep. You guys will say it with me. It's like following along. It's like those old VeggieTales sing-alongs. You guys are just watching the little ball bounce over the subtitles, the phonetics, so that you guys know which part to say at which time. Yeah, we've heard it all before, Coach, you say. But hopefully from this one, we get some fresh, new, fun ideas. This is a player called Sodesi, or at least I think they're called Sodesi. Guys, when posting in forum threads, when sending emails, when submitting replay codes, which, by the way, if I don't get to them, I apologize, just resubmit. It's possible for people to fall through the cracks with the system, especially when replay codes get reset like they are, I think, on Tuesday, 3/31, which is technically today, or at least the day I record this. Anyways, make sure that you include your in-game name. I think that the player we're watching today is Sodesi, because they mention in their notes, they say, I am a console DPS that can't rank up past Platinum, low Diamond. Hi. I was looking for some coaching, as I want to start VOD reviewing myself, but don't know how to properly yet. I am mainly a DPS player, but switch to tank sometimes in open queue. Diamond 5 in open and Plat 1 in DPS role queue. I think I sometimes play too aggressive, which puts my positioning in a bad place, and my ult usage is usually terrible. I think I'm not sure when in the team fights, I should be using it and get little usage out of them. This is a 3-3 draw on Blizzard World. I play Echo, Sojourn, and Ash in this game. And that's how I know which player I think we're looking at, or I think I know which player to look at. And they say, at one point, I switched to Bastion for a round because someone told me to get off Echo and play him, even though there wasn't enough time on the clock to attack, and I'm also not a Bastion player, LOL. And yeah, I absolutely see what you mean there. It's very challenging to play heroes out of our pool and have teammates or coaches or anyone that expect us to be able to play that character. End of the day, all Overwatch abides by very similar rules, but the characters all engage in these rules and systems. So quite a bit differently. So, all right, well, on the DPS, I think that we can definitely get you started in the right direction. And don't worry, we'll make things really easy. When it comes to ulting, if you have it, use it. You see any of my other videos, I elucidate further, and we'll have the opportunity to discuss it here in this VOD, because it's going to be a little bit of a long one. Because of that, we're going to try not to do too much pausing or rewinding, so that we can get through the content, and man, that frees me up so that I can look at as many VODs as possible. Starting off the bat, don't go back. You have the right idea. As long as you are able to exist here without dying, and if you get pressured out of this position, if they look and turn at you, then not only does that maybe give your team a little bit of space to move in the choke because they don't have damage being sent, endlessly down this choke. There's now some of them looking at you. But I'm not always really a big fan of having a decent position, and you know that that's a decent position. You want to know how I know? You took it in the first place, right? You knew that it was unlikely that someone was going to play here. You knew that you would have map control in the form of a health pack. You knew that you would have an angle that wasn't going to be susceptible to endless spam down the choke, which, by the way, is all that you're going to see in choke points when you're playing 6v6, because there are now 6 people to spam damage, right? As opposed to just 5. So the fact that you end up back in the choke, in the core of our team, right? Actually, you're in front of our team, technically, on an angle that one of us has already died, right? After giving up what was a really good position, just to get 17% off of stickies that you actually could have landed from this angle instead. Now, you don't want to die too early here. You maybe not want to reveal yourself too early, right? This one is definitely all in, though. Okay, Yes. Yeah, too greedy, right? So we're playing in Overwatch, we play not for picks, but for advantage and disadvantage. So going aggressive here on this Hanzo is A-okay, but you have to cut your losses, right? Mid-flight, which by the way, oh god, there's actually so much to break down. Like, and again, we won't be able to go back and look at it every single time, but I'll do it this once. When moving on this Hanzo, don't fly at him, just move at his direction, right? That way you have the flight to get out, sticky him, right? And then go for the abilities, because you've shot him, which means he's going to react, he's going to start moving, and if he started moving in a way that is difficult to track so that you can't hit him, which is his plan, then you have to sticky him first and then start hitting him, right? Just go for the ability cast. Go use all 3 of your abilities all at once on this Hanzo, since you have to be all in because of the timing and the position that you're playing in, right? That has to be pretty much the only plan, and because you decide to greed for this pick, instead of even if you had engaged your flight, sticking him and raid, you still could have used the last frames of your flight to get up on this high ground, which is where you should end up anyway. So unfortunate that you end up trading here off of, when really, again, it's not about picks, it's about pressure, and it's about advantage and disadvantage. It is an advantage if you are living somewhere in their backlines in a position where they have to turn and fight you, where you might be able to shoot them in the backs, right? Where you have done some damage but haven't died in the process. Those are advantages, right? You're playing for those, right? As opposed to the disadvantages of taking damage, playing in the same position as our team, not having access to unique angles or a scouting profile, right? That helps us influence our decisions, right? All right. This is all excellent follow-up with your team. I'm generally A-okay with all of that. And again, I really like starting on the off angles. You can start left and right as well. So far, I've only seen us playing, for the most part, the left side of these maps. And again, I really wouldn't mind seeing the whole map get played. That's something that, oh, yeah, yep, you guys said it. Oh, play 80% of the map. Yes, I know that you guys have heard it all before. But don't confine yourself to 20% of the map, especially since you're looking for an opportunity to build ult. Would you have some really clean stickies from this angle? Would you be able to force one of them to look at you and then fly out, and all of a sudden that weakens the formation, the presence, the attention that they can contribute or participate with in main, right? Are these really your easiest possible stickies to build your ult as quickly as possible? This position where you don't feel safe, where you aren't close to a health pack, where you feel isolated from where you are isolated from your team, right? And it's also unfortunate that you don't get the opportunity to ult as early as possible in that fight so that you can contribute to some of the presence with your team. Honestly, there's a universe where I've got a player who remembers me saying that back in the day. They throw it back in my face every once in a while. They go, there's a universe there where, and I'm like, I stopped saying that because you picked up on it. You started copying me, and I realized I needed to write new material. I was actually just sad that they were making fun of me. But but I actually ult right then and there. Like when confronted with their tanks, I'll have my ult, use it, right? And then I can leave as Maga, or I can press my E, build a cage, and say quick, and do something there. And honestly, okay, the cage comes up. None of my bullets can go in. That means I have to go in. So I instantly dupe one of their tanks. Again, if you have it, use it. That's the timeline to use your ults. There's a lot of reasons for it, not the least of which is ults help drive if you're thinking about the game as a story, right? Because that's all I can equate it to, since I'm a communications an English major instead of a STEM major. But if you're thinking about Ultimate or an Overwatch game as a story, oh, by the way, I don't like swinging wide here. You're already in cover. They would have to move all the way out here. Angles are such a funny thing, and I want you playing your angles here, right? If you're thinking about Overwatch like a story, ults help move the story forwards, right? You want to move the pace of the game forwards, and if you can do that faster, you're taking way too much damage here, by the way. And I'm okay with this. You probably have to hold your shield as opposed to all-inning there, and that's really just where it's not so much the timing of your ult, although you definitely should have used it by now, but rather the way that you're using it. Just hold your barrier, right? It's like Brig rally, right? When you rally as Brig, actually, all you really need to do is sit there and hold your shield and live, right? Because you become a high priority target, as we say in the biz. If you can ult faster than your opponents, you're generally driving the game to be played faster, and generally players who are less comfortable, competent in Overwatch are going to have a harder time with games that play faster than they're comfortable with. I would beam that cage, by the way, because the focus beam does extra damage to constructs as well as to characters when they are below the half HP threshold. So you can actually even burn that cage even a little bit faster with I think it's like an up to 250 or 200 damage per second beam right there. I would also move the cart here. You don't want to be too much out in the open, but, you know, there's also some range between you and them that you can use to line up shots, dodge theirs. I like these high ground positions that you're opting for. I like the fact that you were up here earlier. You saw that they had noticed you up here. You don't want to die too early, and so you just drop onto the low ground from there, right? Play your corners, your covers. You're let out in the open here, but you're eventually going to find your way over here, and that's really, really good. I like that you're doing a little bit of scouting. You're peeking your head around and being like, okay, well, where are all of them, right? And then that recon passive also helps you line up that sticky nade. I think a little unlucky that you got speared out, and I really don't care too much for the fact that your Honest turning around there for you. Looks like we got a little bit of the old man reaction time there as well, but I do actually like the fact that you're letting him walk into your crosshair there, and it is just unfortunate that you are getting shattered while, like, as your flight comes off cooldown, while kind of like running it down main, basically, right? Do you have to play these ranges? Is your beam a little bit longer? Are your primary fires just as reliable to land at range, right? Actually, apparently your beam isn't quite that long, as we saw just now, right? Are your stickies, or can your stickies be just as reliable? I probably don't look to run out as early as you do here. I'll probably look to stay up there and apply pressure onto the enemies that are damaging my tanks, because more damage equals less pressure. So if you do more damage to them, they'll be less able to shoot your tank there, which helps buy you a little more space. Although we probably shouldn't be up that far in the first place. There are ways to justify it. Okay, we are down. Yeah, we're down characters, but, like, we should be ulting. We should be, yeah, 100%. And again, I'm not going to go back and look real quick, but, like, if our team is up here, they're all crit, move up, ult to support, like, duplicate to support and keep your team up, or move up, duplicate a tank, and stand in front of your tanks and hold your barrier. You have an ability that literally lets you and your team play this map or play this scenario like literally however you want. So letting your team die so that you can move cart an arbitrary distance at a time where it is not going to be contested at all, and where it won't be contested in the context of a fight that you win, or at least a fight that you don't lose. You have a massive card to play in the form of a duplicate that provides for your team the flexibility that they need, considering that we stuck 2 of our supports on the objective. We haven't heard this in a video before, actually, in a while, is supports don't belong in the point. The supports should have been the ones moving up. I like the fact that you're on cart. I think the DPS players are the ones who should be moving cart, and you kind of move back to cart to move it and then move up, so that after realizing that your supports are sitting there on the point, doing virtually nothing, right? Watching your tanks go crit and die. And so that's where you have to say, okay, my supports aren't doing it, I'm gonna do it, right? And that's where you dupe a support. That's where you dupe a tank. So that's your best ultimate timing. And it's also interesting how that ultimate timing happens earlier than whatever ult we're going to see here. Well, yeah, no, obviously, coach. Yes, thank you. That's my point. The earlier ult, when you have it, use it. If you can't use it, then find a reason to use it. And if you can't find a reason, then make one. Into their lines. Force yourself to use the ult so that you can just hold your barrier, or so that you can do a little bit of healing, so that you can have an ult that they have that you think is valuable, right? Like a Terror Surge, or a Shatter, or a Coalescence, right? Or a Mizuki ult. That whole fight passes by. Oh my gosh, there's probably so much to break down there, and we just unfortunately don't have the time for it. As you guys can see, it's 1 a.m. I work at 7 a.m. tomorrow, so this is already cooking me. Also, oh god, it's crazy that whole fight passes by. We haven't ulted. Also, we're living kind of comfortably behind them. We can just stay behind them. You can go over here. You can go all the way back here. You can go in this hallway to this mega. You can continue flying around. You can grab this mega, play these pillars. You can come into this little tunnel over here. You have the entire map to use. Use it. Use the whole map. 80% of the map, as I'm known to say. Use 80% of the map so that you so that you can avoid the ire of those people who want to chase you down and stagger you and prevent you from using your ult. Use your ult here just to mitigate the damage. So when we're thinking about playing Overwatch, we're thinking about playing these characters and doing like all of the different things that these characters help us do, right? And one of the things that you get from your duplicate is invincibility frames, right? And so, man, I mean, you have your ult, so I would just stay up there. I would just stay up there so that you can see who's walking out of spawn, so that you can see who your dupe targets is, because knowledge is power. Wouldn't it be nice to have the knowledge of who you can dupe before you go for the dupe cast, right? As opposed to moving the point, which, again, your supports are already doing it, which they shouldn't be doing it, but they are, right? So I think I cut myself off from saying something, but that's okay. I've said it all before. as always, I'm going to say, see all of my other VOD reviews. It's actually, for the most part, you do get some really good principles, really good fundamentals. You're going to hear all of the same stuff that I'm always saying here. So we're moving on to Sojourn. This is a character that I have a lot of time spent on. I really like this character, the thighs, as I call her. And man, I hate when she gets banned. I hate when my thighs get banned. I've not done too hot on her this season. I think that she's maybe a little bit harder than she was before. Maybe it's just that Emre is so much better than she is right now. But I'm glad to see her here a little bit. Hoping for some big disruption shots, some really nice right clickies, and also some really nice pressure timing. So see how much damage we aren't doing to them that they are doing to our tank, right? So is it worth playing a little wider here? Is it worth being on low ground so that we have some really clean, nice damage, pressure, spam angles, right, on this character that just endlessly pumps out damage? I think that disruption shot is like well-meaning but poorly placed and poorly timed. I think that we could use it to cut off a tank, apply pressure. We're doing things at ranges that are a little bit far, and I think it's interesting that we slide up at a time where they are all... Isn't this weird? Timing and map control. Isn't it weird that at the time you slide up here, that is a time where they are all backed up and around these corners, right? Isn't that funny how that works out, right? So when I say Overwatch boils down to two core concepts, and that is timing and map control, that's what that looks like. You just got timinged, as I tend to say. I like this spam. I like this pressure. Be careful. It's probably worth it to rotate to the other side of the statue at this point so that you're not... You see how they've lobbed 2 cooldowns at you? Perfect, right? So, yep, we get the idea. We rotate over here. We get hit here. It's worth running and grabbing a health pack, right? Don't just sit here and expect your supports to heal you, especially since I noticed you aren't entering the I need healing command. I'm not sure what that is on console or controller, but I know that on mouse and keyboard, it's that X key, right? I need healing, you're calling, right? And if you're not going to call for healing, right, Mega Pack in here, Mega Pack in here, go learn the maps. Go learn the maps so that you know where these health packs are, so that you can figure out, how to not be a drain on your support resource or get help when your supports aren't giving you resources or aren't providing theirs. Looks like we kind of overcommit as a team. I would, by the way, slide to the high ground. I just was finished looking at my I've got a champion Sojourn player, champion hitscan player who is leaving my team this season, and we were looking at a VOD review earlier today where my comment was, your timing for when you should be using your power slide on Sojourn is probably as it comes off cooldown, right? So at any point during that whole time, at any point during this fight, I would be sliding onto the high ground on there's high ground over here, there's high ground up here, there's a health pack in here. I tell my players all the time that we don't play nearly enough of the Snacks Ramas as we should, right? And then also we have our ultimate. So not only are we looking for angles that provide map control, that gives us powerful angles like the high ground does, like proximity to health packs do, but we're also looking for a position that enables us to not only ult as early as we possibly can, which is right here. It was actually even a little earlier, but this is another suitable timing, but also have a highly valuable ult, right? So going for these damage engines is nice connection there. Be careful about the jumping, by the way. I noticed that we're doing that a little bit during our overclock shots. Jumping hurts us in a lot of ways. See any of my other videos, but I go into detail. Jumping bad. Raises your center of mass, makes your movement predictable, makes your shots harder to hit, messes with your crosshair discipline, etc., etc. There's even more. There's even more. And jumping to hit your overclock shots aren't what helps you nail that shot from that angle. I like that disruptor. I do like that disruptor. And we're looking for big follow-up damage on that. Now, remember, the longer you play a position, the more ready the enemy team is going to be ready to kick you out of it, to pressure you out of there. And when you see someone, and when you see that they can see you, understand that they are putting together in their head the means and plan and mechanisms and reserving the cooldowns and making the comms that they need to kill you, right? Don't shoot until you see the whites of their eyes. How about you make a plan as soon as you see that you've made eye contact and you know that they know that it's time to start walking, right? And that's exactly what happens there in that last life. The queen sees you up on that high ground, goes for the knife, has seen you up there, has marked you, is what it's called, is when you mark someone, you know that they're there. When you scout, that's a process that you get, or that's something that you get from the scouting process. And then here you're just getting a little ahead of yourself for the pick on the queen, and that's a-okay. But you can play your ranges, you can play your distance, right? Your Ana got a really nice sleep, so you want to use that time to line up your shots, to find another target to shoot, right? Is that time that you might have been able to shoot the Hanzo, focus the Moira, get ults or cooldowns out of them? Would you have been able to pressure out the Mizuki into forcing him to use his ult, which would be really important for keeping the story moving forward? And then now we're looking to set up for this fight. The queen is over here. Be careful about running at her. Remember, you want to play your ranges, your effective ranges, which means you can play as far as your character allows to get the same amount of value, or the same amount of damage as if you were playing in front of them, right? Especially for these characters that, I actually don't mind this overclock. It's just like the decision that you make after the overclock, right? Because again, if you have it, use it. But like, see how, look at this. This is really interesting. You get a really solid scouting profile, right? You get a really solid, knowledge of where they all are. And then we go for the one target that we can't see, right? Bunch of targets that we can see. Elevated position from which we can see them. Elevated position that we can slide to. However you would say this, a lower position that we can slide to if we need safety. And then a drop off of high ground that we should just never even think about doing, right? If you know me, I've said it before, it just doesn't make sense to drop from the high ground. That's what makes you vulnerable. You're talking about your ult timings being bagged. No, that timing was good, and the angle was solid. It was what you did after you went for the ult cast. You went for your ultimate cast, and you said, principles be damned, rules to the wayside, I do what I want, and here's my permit showing you, signed by the commission of doing whatever I want, that proves it, right? When really, especially when you're going for big plays, that's when you adhere to the fundamentals. Playing your high ground, being willing to be pressured out of your positions before you just give them up, playing for your good timelines, your good angles, your good targets, right? I don't know that the Hanzo who one-shots you is the one to be looking at when there's a Mizuki with his back turned to you, or a tank that you can chip down, right? To force them to barrier in front of your face, or go for a dominant E on you, right? With their snap and everything, or to force the hazard to leap onto you, to force the Winston to bubble on the cart, right? Are there not only other targets that you could be looking at, but like other things, other cooldowns that you could be forcing, other constructs that are added to the fight, right? Other elements, other variables that you're introducing just by sitting there on high ground with your ult. Ulting isn't about getting value with the ult. It's just about ulting, right? And that's the first step. But you have to do the steps after that, and that is, making sure that I'm on my good angle, looking at my good targets. Sorry, I lose myself a little bit. It's getting very, very late. Let's go and wrap this one up, because we are well into the last round. Here's where we've been compelled to play Bastion, and I'm A-okay with this, right? It's kind of tough that my tanks aren't walking ahead of me, right? While I'm applying the pressure that we need to break through the shield, right? So your tanks. So what we're seeing here is a relationship, which is like you need your tanks to move up the same way that they need you to apply pressure so that you guys can move up, right? So it's just a little bit unfortunate that we're a little bit out of sync here. Overwatch 2 boils down to two principles: timing and map control. If my tanks aren't moving up while I'm in my shift form as Bastion, right? Do you see how that is not very conducive to the fight setup that we need in order to win? And we see it. I mean, look at how much time we are spending on our side of the map and in the choke. See my other VOD reviews. I go into detail about why the choke is bad to spend time in, and why it's bad to spend time on our side of the map. So this is where I believe things are going to get interesting, because this match actually still has a pretty fair deal amount of time left. This is probably where we see some of the big highlights here coming from Sodesi, our now Ash hero, because I think we see a full hold of the first objective on Blizzard Rogue, which is itself not an overly complicated endeavor, but is quite impressive considering that they have basically a minute and a half less time than they should. That dynamite is a little bit high. I'm actually kind of surprised that you get hit markers off that, but just a little bit of a tall cast there that you go for. And I would really want you to greed for a slightly larger dynamite. And honestly, your best position to do that is going to be here from the low ground. So wouldn't mind seeing that. We go for damage ticks here. Remember, you only have about 8 to 12 seconds to play any position. As soon as they see you, as soon as they mark you, which they don't need to even see you. If I'm taking damage from a direction, right, and I played the game long enough, then I know, like, who might be damaging me, right? If you were to eat that Bastion sticky nade, you would know that it's Bastion sticky nade, right? And so, in that same vein, like, they don't even need to see you, right? I know in what direction to shoot my gun if I know from which direction their missiles came from, their shots came from, their projectiles, their abilities, yada, yada, yada. So get onto the high ground. Although, to be fair, this is probably a bad time. It's probably fair for you to be actually even a little bit closer, right? Your team is up, they're back, you're playing outside of your effective ranges for the turret, which you should be destroying, by the way. Definitely help your team. Oh, don't dynamite the turret, though. That's not worth it, because you've just got a gun, and you can walk up. Literally, okay, yeah. You can definitely walk up, because, like, we're not even, like, moving side to side, right? We're not trying to finagle angles. We're not trying to scout over to make sure that no one is lurking around, right? Which they, like, at higher levels, a Tracer or Genji or a Venture would be over there, right? We're not moving up to put ourselves within our effective ranges because they're LOS. Like, what is the invisible line actually just keeping you locked in this position? And why is it keeping you locked to, behind this line on this side of the map instead of, instead of, like, you know, over here, right? Why are you not okay moving up a little bit to play within your effective range, to put yourself on angles where you can acquire knowledge, to put yourself closer to the core of your team, especially since you aren't going to be playing on high ground. But again, you don't need to play at high ground on at this time, because that wouldn't be your effective range either, right? And you have to build your ult because you're 80% to it, right? But then if you don't want to move up, then why are you also satisfied playing a narrow angle from which you have already been operating, which means they know you're here, which means they know where to shoot, and they are playing Tor, Bastion, Mizuki, Reinhardt, Orisa. That's all spam down this one angle that is, like, super easy, right? So it's interesting to me. It's like, oh, I'm not going to move forward so that I don't feed and die first. That would be bad, right? But then also, we're not moving side to side. We're not playing different angles, right? Man, I can't explain it quite well at the moment, but, like, that is just as bad. That is actually just as bad. So, it's interesting where those lines get drawn. The invisible ones actually kind of keeping us in some of these angles. That's unfortunate. Yeah, jump to the high ground, move forward. You don't have to stay as far back as you are. You just have to make sure that if you take damage, you're willing to back up, that you know where you're going to back up, right? It's important to know in advance where we're going. Every 8 to 12 seconds, you have to move to a new position, but you also have to, you know, part of that is knowing which new position you're going to move to. Bob this, especially since, like, they're using ults, they've shattered. Yep, the Bob has to come out earlier so that you can be disrupted to the follow-up on the Reinhardt. I think you guys kind of get saved by the bell here, but I absolutely think that, like, in a different lobby, if you don't Bob that, you guys, like, it's so much easier for you guys to lose. Playing on the low ground instead of the high ground here, which is fine. We don't have our coach gun quite back yet. We're playing the same angle as we have been. I'm generally against doing the same thing multiple consecutive times. So see my other videos where I say, hey, you know, don't play don't play two different fights the exact same way. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, right? So get on the high ground, be ready to intercept this angle. That's actually really nice timing for you to be on this section of the map to prevent Reaper from taking control of that section that he wanted to. We bled enough time off the clock and forced enough pressure to keep them slow through the choke, which means they're not able to touch in time. They have to ult out in the streets, which is super important. We haven't ever gotten the chance to talk about it on the channel, and we probably won't, but ultimates are very good on the point, like very, very good. So the fact that we prevent the Orisa from being able to ult anywhere but the point, I'm sorry, the fact that we prevent her from being able to ult on the point is very, very meaningful. So I'm very glad that I get the opportunity to just kind of, like, even mention that. Guys, wow. Oh, man. It has been a long night, and I am so glad that I get to look at these games, especially since I am kind of speed running some of these at the end of a patch, or at the, like, right before a new patch is going to drop, or I'm sorry, it's not a new patch, it's actually just a replay code wipe. I don't think there's any changes coming in later today, but I've just heard it down the grapevine that codes are probably going to reset. So I'm very glad that I managed to get to these. Again, if I don't manage to get to the ones that you guys are leaving, then feel free to resubmit codes. Again, it's easy for people to kind of get lost in the process, and so just, you know, stay persistent and stay patient as well. Guys, a huge thank you goes out to Sodesi for allowing us to examine their gameplay. I'll let it be showcased here, marked for improvement, and shared with many others who may benefit from some of these same insights. If you guys would like to have your VODs reviewed for free on the channel, feel free to email that address there on the screen. You have to include a replay code of a close win or loss, you know, just no steamrolls, your IGN, current rank, division, roles, heroes, any competitive goals, and any insight on the match itself or specific questions that you want answered. For affordable professional standard coaching, guys, feel free to DM Lord Ethan on Discord for full block one-on-one VOD reviews and discussions, team or group VOD reviews or scrims, or honestly even, and I'm not saying that Sodesi should do this, but you know, guys, if you want to learn how to VOD review, that's not something I actually managed to get into in this one. I think that there is still plenty to talk about in the game, and honestly, if you watch a ton of my other videos, you'll get an idea of how to VOD review, right? Which is really just play the VOD, you know, wait and see if you've until you die, figure out why you died, and then go from there. And again, you're really you only have to look at your VODs through the lens of timing and map control, right? When am I and where am I? And when and where is everything else, right? And so that's a good way to start. But if you guys want to learn how to VOD review, right, that's something that you guys can also book a session with as well, right? And those would often be made into YouTube videos, and so it's not like you're just investing in your skills and yourself. You're also investing in me, the channel, and into anyone else who would watch those. Guys, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. All of the support, especially this early on, as I'm a quarter of the way there to being able to monetize the channel for pennies on the dollar, but especially early on, guys, it goes an incredibly long way. It's helpful in ways that none of us could really truly realize. If you're new to the channel, thank you guys so much for sticking around through the end of this long review. And if you're a regular, I'm so grateful to you guys. I'm already gathering new ones, and I've missed the ones over the summer. If you're a hater, leave a comment. I've already gotten a couple of hater comments, and I love you guys. Oh man, I want to keep you guys close. And if you're just along for the ride like myself, guys, then stick around. It's going to be an absolutely mind-boggling journey. There is no stopping each foot from crossing the threshold of fate. Step by step, we are unable to go back. So forward and upward, hopefully in our ranks as well, so that we can continue to generate new insights, not only in Overwatch, but in many other things for each other. Guys, as always, leave a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications so that you guys can see the instant that new videos premiere. And thank you guys all so much for watching. Remember to be good to each other, be fair to yourselves, and I'll see you guys on the next one.